it's a few issues, but I mean the underlying one is that they want results right now. They think that when they get to this arbitrary goal that they have for themselves, maybe it's that just chiseled six pack or that
Yeah.
just that
Guarantee
huge.
it's not a performance goal, right?
It's not a performance goal. It's not. It's usually mostly aesthetics. Um, and so they project that this perfect idea, and that when they get there, they're going to be so happy, and everything in their life is going to be perfect, and they're not really enjoying the journey, working towards their goals, progressing each week, improving on their different exercises. They just want to get to this end goal, and so they end up obsessing about it, and they end up instead of actually just allowing this, instead of just letting this stuff fall into the background of your life and just doing it and then forgetting about it, going to the gym, hitting your lift, and then moving on, forgetting about focusing on other areas of your life, which sounds counterproductive. Because we've been kind of raised to think that, like, if you really want to get something, it's got to be on your mind all day,
All or
so
nothing.
all or nothing, and
Yeah.
that's true for a lot of stuff. But with fitness, it's a different ball game. It's with nutrition, it's a different ball game. The more you're thinking and obsessing about it, the more you're gonna like screw up.
Right.
Because after get those good workouts in, after eating your meals, there's nothing more you can do by thinking about it.
That's it. You just eat the meals and it's done.
It's done. There's nothing more. Going on a forum and searching this stuff up all day is not helping you get to where you want to be. You have to just embrace the patience, do what you have to do, and then enjoy it. And just go through it like you're already at your goal. Like, imagine you're there. You're already at it. So now you might as well learn to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, getting to your goal, you're not going to enjoy it when you're there. So, I mean, the issue that is basically they're so obsessed with obtaining this goal that it's all they think about, and they think that when they get there, they're going to be so happy, and so they just start to overthink everything, overanalyze. They're just constantly like, am I improving? Is this happening? And it's just like, dude, chill, just chill. You know what you have to do. You have to do this, this, and this. That's it. Do it, and then go do something else.
Right.
There's more to this than this fitness stuff. And so, I mean, everyone gets trapped in this mindset at one time or another. And then because they're like reading like, oh, well, this guy's doing this and that seems to work. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just change this exercise. And they're like literally just tweaking everything before they even had a chance for it to work. My approach is, stick to a program, just do it. And then try and like focus on improving each week on these different exercises. And if something's not going up, if you're stalling on something, then make the smallest little tweak to keep the ball rolling again. The smallest little tweak that will allow you to make gains over several years. If you're just doing drastic changes here and there, it's just gonna you're just overthinking, overdoing it, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. I like what you said about kind of being satisfied with the process as you go through it rather than being obsessed with the goal. That's so hilarious. I just literally wrote something about that where I was talking about how people have this lofty goal in the future of being this perfect body, and they're working towards it and they don't enjoy it at all during the process, and it starts driving them crazy, and they never get to that goal because they're always dwelling on the things that they should be doing to get there or what they could do better. And in reality, like, I wrote a book called The 27 Body Transformation Habits, and it starts with really simple things like drink more water, eat more vegetables, get a good night's sleep, go for a walk every day. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that is so simple, and yet people want the latest supplement, the fanciest new program, things like that. And it doesn't actually add any value into their lives. It doesn't get them any further. I know we're talking a lot about kind of the mindset stuff right now. Maybe let's shift it back around and give people something useful. So obviously you're into focusing on performance goals, strength gains in order to get people there. You said making tiny tweaks is the key to continuous long process. What are the best exercises that you find for people when they're just getting started?
Are we talking about body weight or weights? Because I use
separate
both.
it. Let's separate it. Let's do your favorite weight exercises and let's do your favorite body weight exercises.
Okay. So I really find that in terms of building the physique in a way that looks great and getting stronger for everyday life, the weighted body weight movements are really cool. Like weighted chin-ups or weighted dips or weighted pull-ups are just absolutely awesome. And so I mean, if someone is at the point where they can do like 5 chin-ups, 10 dips, once you start adding weight to that, you're going to get you're gonna get so much stronger, and your body's gonna grow very, very nicely. I am, people don't put enough attention into shoulder pressing. Overhead pressing is so, it's so powerful. People are just obsessed with lying down on the bench and working their chest. There's nothing wrong with that, but when you're not putting the attention on the shoulders, you're not going to develop a great physique. Because just that one of the best signs of an awesome physique is when someone has, those big, strong shoulders. It pops out. It's rare to see today, and it's just a great sign of just a strong, powerful, masculine guy. Because that V taper, that wide shoulder look, is what's actually one of the key signs of physical attraction in men, having that broad shoulder to narrow waist look. And funny enough, the shoulders actually have a ton of anabolic receptors. So when guys go on steroids and take lots of testosterone, their shoulders grow very well. And so it's actually hard for naturals to get big shoulders. But when you focus on building the shoulders, it's just a great sign that you have high testosterone levels. And it's just a really cool look. So I recommend tons of shoulder pressing. Well, not tons of shoulder, but I recommend focusing on getting really strong in the shoulder presses.
Just basic barbell or dumbbell military press kind of thing?
Barbell, dumbbell, military presses. Squats and deadlifts are great at building a lot of size in the lower body. But I found that once you get to a good, solid strength level with the squats and deadlifts, I prefer to kind of switch gears and start working on different exercises. Like I love pistol squats, weighted pistols, and I like to keep I'm at the point, because I've lifted for several years, where my legs are getting they got to the size I wanted them. I didn't want them bigger. And I think that if you look at lifters that have been training for several years, they've built up to like very, very, very strong legs. Eventually, their legs become overdone, really big, and I don't find it to be a sleek, good look. I just think it's too much. It just looks cheesy. And so once you've got that good strength on the legs, I actually like to focus on maximizing power. Because let's say you build up to doing a 350-pound squats for 5 reps. Actually, you could just really boost your sprint and jump power if you were to learn how to explode faster on those 5 reps. So instead of actually adding weight to the bar, learning to increase that speed, because stuff like jumping and sprinting happens in like fractions of seconds. And so if you're taking like 3-4 seconds to like squat up, you're improving your strength, yes, but that strength's not going to carry over very well to athletic activities. So I recommend building up a good level of raw strength on the legs and then focusing on maximizing speed. So what I'll usually do is I'll do like, I love pistol squats. So I'll do like a weight I could probably knock out for 8 reps, and I'll just do like doubles with it, but come up really, really fast. And that strength, even though I'm technically not pushing myself as hard as if I went for 8 reps, that strength is allowing me to jump a lot higher than if I was to hit the 8 reps. And then I'll do stuff like one-legged box jumps, depth jumps, a lot of just jumping movements, maximizing my explosiveness, and then I might do some like single leg work, like Bulgarian split squats and stuff like that. And then to keep my back strong, I like to do some rack deadlifts. But so I basically adjusted my training to focus on building power and avoid adding any excessive mass. But this is really something that people do not have to worry about until they get there.
We just talked
until
about
they get there.
So it's like almost like, okay, yeah, you can get crazy on functionality and stuff like that and speed, but what did we just say? 350-pound squat for 5 reps? That sounds pretty reasonable to me, right? So if you're a guy and you're listening to the call, get that before you think about any of this other stuff, right?
Because someone that is really, really hesitant to the guys that just do not want to squat and deadlift are gonna look at this, what, he's right. I should totally just do this other stuff. It's like, dude, you haven't even, you're still at a plate aside, okay? This issue, your legs are not too big yet.
Yeah.
They're not even close. So that's, so I mean, that's how as far as legs, squats and deadlifts are really awesome. But then eventually, I transitioned to doing pistol squats, to doing some box jumps, and movements of that nature. I think that if you really want to build some great power, the Olympic lifts, if you can learn them, are really powerful. Hang clean. I was always a huge fan of hang cleans. I injured my wrists though. I haven't done them in a couple of years. But that exercise was super effective because the only way to do a hang clean or power clean or a snatch is to explode very very quickly. So you just have to. There's no other way. And so the strength you develop as you build strength on the Olympic lifts, it's directly improving your sprint and your jump performance. And yeah, you can mimic that by doing the explosive squats or explosive leg lifts. But anyways, Olympic lifts are cool. And then I mean those are my more or less my favorite movements for weight train as far as weight training is concerned. The incline bench press is fantastic. I prefer that over flat. I like to do a lot more incline than flat for building a great chest. And then I do direct bicep work. I love it. I don't overdo it. I'll just pick, do one heavy curl exercise and I'll get really strong on that. Yeah. And when you built up to like 75-pound dumbbell curls, that's helpful. It can be helpful. I used to do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappling, and I was never like a black belt per se, but when I was rolling with the top guys and they were trying to armbar me, they would not do it. I had enough technique to be defensive and to know when they're pulling for a move, so I could preemptively get my arm locked. They would not tap me out. They would not.
That's so funny. I like how you mentioned that because a lot of people bash bicep curls. I at one point in my life bashed some bicep curls, and then I went and trained with Dennis Rogers, who's a world-renowned strongman. He does things like bend quarters with his fingers and bend frying pans with his hands and stuff. And he was originally a world champion arm wrestler. And at 140 pounds, he could curl a 100-pound dumbbell over a bench, like preacher curl a 100-pound dumbbell 10 times. I mean, the guy's absolutely one of the most insanely strong people I've ever met in my life. But he kind of instilled the value of the strength in the curl to me. And then later on, I started meeting other people that were like, wow, this is really a huge exercise. Like Brooks Kubik, the author of Dinosaur Training. He would do curls with a 3-inch bar that would weigh like 170 pounds. And he would do strict curls with a 3-inch bar. And I met him and I shook his hand and I said, oh my God, that is the most frightening set of wrists and hands I've ever seen, not to mention forearms and biceps too. So if you're, I think that the curl is definitely a functional exercise. I mean, anytime you pick something up and you put it to your shoulders, that's essentially a curl,
Right.
So anyways, just wanted to patch in there and be like, I agree with you. Curls are not only cool for the beach, they're also cool for functional strength as well.
Right. And, a lot of this stuff where people bash bench, they bash arms, they're bashing the extremity of it, like the polarizing context.
I only do curls and bench.
Just do curls all day. If you're doing this stuff in the context of a smart program, you're focusing on getting stronger, then, they're great productive movements. But if you go too far with them, then it's, like anything.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that you might be known for is doing some more complex bodyweight movements. And that's something that's really gaining a lot of popularity these days, is movement progressions and bodyweight movements, much thanks due to the, like the ghetto park workout scenes that we see all over YouTube and stuff like that. How do people get started with bodyweight training, and what progression do they use to get from simple exercises to more complex ones?